Hello, hello, and welcome to another Rise Up CX Talks. This is the podcast where we discuss ideas and strategies on how to transform experience into business growth. I am your host, Camila Ferreira, an award winning CX leader, an international speaker, and more recently, an author of Long Live CX, available on Amazon. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome a friend I made through LinkedIn, Ariel Levinson, also named Ariel because he's from Argentina. So, with no further ado, Ariel, if you can take on stage and let the audience know what you do to transform experience into business growth.
Thanks, Camila. Thanks for having me. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are watching us from different parts of the world. Well, my name is Ariel Levinson, and I'm in marketing. I have been doing marketing for more than 25 years in global corporations, and recently started my own business about consulting and offering marketing fractional services for B2B companies.
Wow. I'm pretty sure that we have a lot to cover today. I was of course, just going live here. We were discussing your amazing experience in the global world. And to kick things off, first of all, we're going to talk about here global experience, but local impact, which is very much important. And we are living in this globalized world and where companies are expanding. However, we cannot leave behind that what connects, what kind of builds trust is the local experience, is the local impact. So the conversation today is going to be around how to build B2B marketing that resonates across borders. And I'm pretty sure you have a lot to share, and because this is not an easy thing, right? So you may have faced many, many challenges.
Yeah, that's right, Camila. And yes, even if we are going to focus on my last 14 years have been on B2B, I have a previous experience with DC. So we are going to give also some examples about how this work, this international expanding marketing works for B2C. So we are living in a very globalized world. Nobody can deny that. And besides consuming products and services from all over the world in our own territories, we consume a lot of content. And that could be movies, sport events, blogs, articles, all kind of media. And we consume that through all kind of platforms. Like it could be TV, it could be cable, satellite, streaming, social media, digital media. So that makes that a lot of people in different parts of the world can consume those contents simultaneously live. uh,
Oh,
and
yes.
and we could think, well, now that everybody consume kind of the same content, does that means that everybody is similar? Is the culture is similar? Some companies could think that is the case, but every country has their cultural differences, their own stories, their taboos, their tastes, their preferences. And if we don't pay attention to those particular things, our product or service could fail. And that not understanding that is the difference between succeeding and failing.
Absolutely.
And I will give you, as I said, some B2C examples. When I was living in Argentina and working in the retail industry, and Walmart came, whoa, big launch. So we visit one of those stores, and people who knows the Argentinian asado or barbecue knows that the sausage or the chorizo is a huge part of that meal.
Absolutely. Yes.
We went to Walmart, they didn't have chorizo. So that shows not having done their own research or understanding what are the local habits in such an iconic meal like is this barbecue asado.
Oh,
A
it's the same
meal,
of not having feijoada in Brazil, right? It's our kind of
exactly,
most
like you
famous
have
and
to eat.
popular meal.
Yes, that's right. And a more recent example is what happened with Target here in Canada, where I'm based in Toronto. Uh, Target opened l- tons of stores, but they didn't understand some of the logistic problems. They didn't understand the mix of products that the Canadian love. And after less than 2 years, they closed the business in Canada, losing $5.4 billion. So
Wow.
that is one example, maybe one of the biggest, in terms of how costly could be not understanding the local habits, the local behaviors, the consumer, uh, in to be successful, no matter if it's a B2C or B2B. Uh,
Absolutely. And by listening to you, I was just kind of thinking about it. And last week, when I was in Brazil delivering a keynote about customer experience, one of the things that we discussed or we presented on the stage was actually the marketing transition. And I hope you agree with me because you are such a good marketing and talented marketing professional. But when I review the history of marketing, I can see that in the past, of course, with the upcoming of the media, the commercials, and all of the marketing industry, but companies used to design their products and services and then use marketing strategies to make us believe, us, I mean, consumers, make us believe that we wouldn't need it, right? So they were kind of defining what we would buy. Whereas nowadays, from a client experience perspective, I see a transition that companies that still keep this mindset will no longer succeed. And why? Because now we as consumers, first, as you correctly said in the beginning, we are living in this very globalized world. We have access to absolutely everything if we want the good and the bad things, right? So we have
yes,
to be very much careful with access as well. But because we have access to everything, loyalty is something that is not as it used to be. And we're going to buy from companies that actually think on solutions based on our needs and not the other way around. So, what are the needs that I have? What are the struggles that I face? What are the challenges that I face on a daily basis? And I'm talking from, I don't know, last week we were talking about food retail, but it goes from food retail to electronics to absolutely everything in life. So, I see that kind of that change in how we design the marketing strategies. It's no longer the marketing strategists designing ways of making consumers craving for what they want, but actually working backwards on understanding what consumers are actually craving and then working backwards with the companies to design those products and solutions. How do you see it?
yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that is one of the big changes, and companies focusing more on the insights that they get from the consumer. It doesn't matter if it's business to business or business to consumer, is what are their needs to build the right product and the right service to serve those needs. So that I think is a big change that is happening, and yes, and it's not anymore. We have this. It used to be more unidirectional. Is we decided to build this, and now you have to buy it.
Now you have to buy, yeah. And now I'm going to make you believe you need to buy, right? It's no longer the
Yes.
case. And based
Yeah.
on what you were saying before about this cultural nuance, if you do not understand what is the soul, not even of the country, but sometimes of the community, in big countries like Brazil or the US, or even if we go to Europe, you cannot just treat Europe as one single nation. And
No.
even if you go, I don't know, I can speak for Brazil, right? And Argentina is also a big country. But speaking of Brazil, the preferences and the desires that we have, for example, in the south part of Brazil, where I was born and raised, is different than the north part of Brazil.
Totally, totally. And same thing happened with Canada. So when you have countries huge countries like Brazil, Canada, and itself, that you could say, well, it's one market. No, the geography is so vast that
Yes.
internally, the needs and the habits and the tastes and the preferences from one
Completely.
coast to the other, to the north, from the north to the south, are completely different.
And
Even
then it,
Yeah, even if they speak the same language and are part of the same territory.
oh,
And
absolutely.
and talking about languages, I think there are still companies, and I would say some of them based in North America, that when they go to other markets, they assume that everybody speaks English, and
Oh my
they keep their communication, well, their websites or their social media posts, their digital marketing in English. And it's impossible to succeed if you don't communicate in the local language.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
and even if when you do that, sometimes you also need to match the tone,
And the
the
dialect.
those you mentioned the nuances,
Yeah.
because it makes a huge difference. It's not just about translations.
Oh,
Uh,
not at all. Not at
you need
all.
to have in the local language, but you also need to understand the culture, and and even working in B2B technology companies where the jargon, or the technical terms mostly are in English, there are always some particular term that is very, very local, and not using them make that company doesn't engage with that particular audience, because they don't feel represented. They feel that they are talking about something different.
Yeah. The very first step for trust is communication. And if you're not speaking the same language, how are you going to build trust?
Yeah, and
Right.
I love. There are a couple of examples of, well, Pepsi once going to Asia translated things that had nothing to do with the original concept, and Mitsubishi created a brand for one of their cars that had a sexual concept in Spanish, that totally failed. So they have to change the brand. You can you imagine having produced all the campaigns, and then have to change absolutely everything because they made a mistake about the brand, about the meaning of that brand in a particular region.
And how do you do that, Ariel? Because this is kind of a, I understand, I completely get it from a customer experience perspective that you can go global as long as you connect with local. And this is one of the biggest mistakes I see, not only companies, but leaders making as well when leading different cultures. But how do you balance maintaining a strong global brand
Yeah.
while adapting to local experiences and cultural nuance? So, what is the secret sauce here?
I think there is a term that is called glocal. No,
Local.
you have
Yeah,
to
I
go
like it.
global, but also act locally. No, so
Hmm.
when you create a brand for a product or a service, I think you build values around that brand, that define that brand, that position that brand, that gives the personality to that brand. I think those aspects are non-negotiable. But
Okay.
then you need to adapt uh, the communication on how you relate that particular product or service to the local culture, to their local needs, because for the same product or same service, there could be different needs depending on the country, or the region. So it's a delicate balance, as you say,
Yeah.
between those general strategy that you have for that product, and how you are gonna translate that to a particular market.
Yeah, but
Uh,
let's give some examples to the audience because, of course, adapting to local communication, understanding their dialect, the tone is really important. But if you have to expand, now you were based in Canada, and you have worked with more than 35 countries in Latin America. This is something that I learned today, the amount of countries that we have. But if you were expanding internationally right now, what would be top of mind for you? What would be kind of the top 3 or 5 um, actions you would take on the ground?
Yes. So definitely we talk about understanding the culture. So adapting your product or service to that local culture. Definitely the digital presence. As I said, we talk about also language. So having your communication directly, your website, your social media platform, your digital in local language, not only the local language, and it says understanding the tone, the context, uh, then understanding the compliance, the laws, because it's not just about the product or the service itself, it's how uh, that particular country rule about that data privacy, how they regulate the advertising. So you need to comply with all those aspects as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also understanding how, for example, media is consumed. In some countries, you can go with more traditional media about using outdoor or radio or newspaper or TV. In others, maybe the digital marketing like social media platforms are more developed, so you are going to use those. But even using those, for example, WhatsApp, that is extremely popular in Latin America, but it's not that popular in North America.
Indeed.
Or LinkedIn, that is very popular globally, but in China, I think it's WeChat. So you need to understand how media is consumed in those regions as well. That is very critical.
But how do you do that? Kind of, you go hire local resources,
Well,
you partner, you have agencies in international markets. How
well,
do you get to the bottom of the details that you actually need to succeed?
I think that the first aspect is to be open minded. Is has to have that sensibility of understanding how things work in the market you are gonna be disembarking, and 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 embrace that. Um, then you definitely need to work with local partners,
Mhm.
because even if you have all those that understanding of the culture and the needs, those partners are gonna be kind of your eyes and your ears over there, and they are the ones who will, because they are locals, they are gonna validate what you are proposed or make
Mhm.
the right adjustments to comply or work for that particular culture. And when you do research and you get insights, you also need to work with local research companies, because you can have the best research companies in your country, but not necessarily they will follow or will understand other cultures.
Absolutely.
And so they need to be local, and they need to get the right information for you to use on any campaign or any initiative around your product or your service.
Yeah, I asked you this because it's not uncommon to see international companies expanding the role of existing executives. So, for example, oh, you were based in Canada, you were originally in charge of marketing for Canada, but now you have the US. And now your role gets expanded, but you do not necessarily partner with local resources. This is something that happened to me, and I committed many mistakes in the past of just assuming that by getting a bigger responsibility, I would keep using the same resources, which is not the case. So I think that you touched on something that is really important, which is the partnership with local agencies, local resources, and something that you said really resonated with me, which is they're going to be your eyes on the floor, on the ground.
Yes.
right? I think that it's the combination of the two that makes international companies more successful, because you may have a original playbook from your home country that combined with the local nuances, with the talents of the local resources, is going to make you more successful and stronger in your go-to-market. So yeah, definitely here a golden nugget for our audience, which is just don't pretend that because you were successful in one country, you're going to be successful in the next one. Leveraging the local resources is what's going to expedite that success in expanding internationally.
Yeah. And I would like to add one other thing, that is to have agility,
Oh,
because
yes.
you can plan everything, you can understand the culture, you can set the table perfectly well, but not all the countries are have stability in terms of their economy or their politics. So sometimes you need to adapt very quickly, because those things that you plan for so long and you did all your research and so on, that change in the economy or change of government could affect directly the way that you communicate or you launch your product or service. So
Absolutely.
that is not only to adapt, but have the agility to understand and change.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that so both of us came from are originally from Latin America. We have this agility. We must have this agility in our veins, right? Because
That,
things change so quickly across Latin America, across the countries in Latin America, that if we do not have this ability, we definitely fail very fast.
yeah, no, I always
But
say that we have a we have developed a radar. No,
yeah,
we are so used for things to change on a daily basis that we see those changes coming before others.
absolutely. We kind of born with that skill.
Yes.
But let me change gears a little bit here. Let's kind of talk about AI, which is definitely the topic of the moment. In
Yes.
AI, I have been attending in participating in conversations about the impact of AI on customer experience a lot, as you can imagine. And I'm assuming it's not different for the marketing industry as well, right? So,
No.
what role do you see AI playing in either kind of a bridging or widening the cultural and
Well,
experiential gap?
I think that AI is an amazing tool. We need to understand the benefits, but also some of the risks that come along. In terms of the benefits, I would say it could help us work on segmentation. So when you have a huge database of prospects or clients, AI could help you to better segment that particular audience based on their interests, on their needs.
Mhm.
Uh, Something that humanly it will take a long time to group those people, but when you are dealing with hundreds or thousands of prospects, AI could help you accelerate enormously that process of grouping those segments to improve your initiatives, your marketing actions, your communications. Then AI can help on generating the right content. So you can draft a basic content, but then AI could help you to customize that particular content depending on those segments that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
So that's and you can even go one to one if
Oh, the personalization,
because
definitely.
you will know habits or preferences or needs of that particular client. So AI now even will allow you to create the right content, always, as I say, always with human supervision, because
Oh,
this
absolutely.
AI is not perfect, still in the early stages, and there are what it calls hallucinations. So
A
not
lot of
not
hallucinations, by the way.
not controlling that or supervising that hurt could hurt a lot your brand or your company.
Yeah, I
Um,
can tell you, I talk and debate and strategize, you name it, right? So the period of the day with my AI. But you were right, and similarly in CX, the input comes from the human
yeah,
and the outcome as well. Because even though I think that, and I use AI a lot, I have been trying to keep up with all of the new solutions coming from AI, which is hard because the speed of new releases is kind of faster than I believe we can keep up with. But I definitely kind of try to learn something new about AI on a daily basis and try to use this and bring this to my work. And as a solopreneur like you right now, having AI has helped me significantly.
yes, totally.
I don't consider myself a good writer, but for example, when I want to express my ideas on LinkedIn posts, for example, what I do is that I have the input. I know what is behind of that idea or that concept and why this is so important. But I definitely leverage this with AI in order to target to my audience and even use my tone. And then maybe from there, I create a keynote. So those are the things that when well managed and synced, AI can help you significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of other things I would say, we talk about translations, about languages. That could help a lot. It's not perfect, but it will give you a base content that could be supervised or adjusted by a local, and that will accelerate enormously the process. I remember when I was working in the technology world and launching products in different parts of the Americas. Sometimes we receive from North America the English version a day before the launch, and it took a long time to translate, to review, and create all the pieces for the other markets in other languages. And now that could be done pretty
In a matter of
quickly.
seconds.
Exactly. The translation itself, definitely then with the human overview and adjustments. And the
Yeah.
last one I would say is, we all talk about, we know how SEO works on the search engine optimization. We always talk about optimizing our websites and our digital platforms. And now the traditional search on platforms like Google has dropped dramatically because people are using AI to search things, topics,
Absolutely.
inquiries. What's the best company for this? And so the content needs to be built differently, not just now with that the algorithms we have in mind for Google, but also understand how AI will uh, read our content and and then reflect them in every inquiry that people do online.
Yeah. This is such an important topic because, of course, some people are afraid of losing their jobs because of AI. But the way I approach this is slightly different. It's kind of an evolution. If we think about the marketing engines or the marketing channels, so let's look back, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago when the kind of the search engine came to life. We had
Yes.
to understand SEO and everything that you were mentioning. Why? Because there was another way for us to look for or to get our questions answered.
Yeah.
Then we had the social medias, the different social medias that came into place, and it was not only kind of you not only had to be on the search engines globally, but you also had to be on social media. Then the coming up of the influencers. Now we are talking about the micro influencers, not kind of at the amount, the millions of followers that you have, but how do you actually connect with your community? Back to what we were discussing about the local. Okay, I have millions, but to who do I actually talk to?
Yeah.
Right? If me as a consumer, as a final consumer, I want to kind of create that connection. So the micro influencers are coming out. And I think that now we are stepping into this kind of AI as a solution that is not only answer your questions, but also kind of a replace or repurpose the open global search, the search engine. Again, if you want to succeed, if you want to kind of stay ahead of your market, just get to know how to do it. So the people that will succeed in 5 years from now, they're already understanding what is this machine, what is this algorithm, because there will be a transition. This transition is actually already happening. You kind of stay ahead if you understand what are the mechanisms behind it.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, totally agree.
Oh, you see, my goodness, what a masterclass of marketing here. But just for us to wrap up things, you also mentioned that you were passionate about mentoring.
Yes.
So how does it work? How do you mentor? We are approaching the end here, and I want to make sure that the people have a way to get in contact with you. So tell us a bit more about your mentoring programs.
Well, I have always mentored the people who were part of my marketing teams in different companies. Then I volunteer with the American Marketing Association on the different uh, mentoring programs that they have, and I think is an amazing activity, very rewarding because it's kind of you pay back. No, there are people that when you started that help you get where you are, and they give you good advice and supported you. And so I think is an amazing opportunity when you do that internally is is great because you are supporting the people who work with you, and when those people are happy in what they are doing, the outcomes are much better. And when you all have an open communication and you share your experiences, you help those people grow as well. So sometimes mentoring, because it's not always about work, it's about personal thoughts or personal development. Sometimes that mentoring is better to do externally, that that the mentor is not always in the company, because you can share other aspects that you wouldn't share
You're
with your
biased.
people. Yeah, you don't want to jeopardize your job.
Exactly.
So but I think that the mentoring aspect it helps in every aspect for a professional to grow.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think I love mentoring. I love being mentored as well. I think this is such a gift, right? And I used to say that mentoring is the equivalent of creating time because it helps the mentee to get faster to his or her destination.
Yeah.
So I love.
And
Okay.
I think it works two ways, because
Oh, yeah,
you
absolutely.
also, as a mentor, you learn from your mentees.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. It's a very enriching and valuable partnership. I agree with you. Okay, we are approaching the end. So, Ariel, before I say the final words here, so how can people reach out to you? What is the best way to get more from this global marketing knowledge?
Well, I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn. Please send me invite to connect. Ariel Levinson at LinkedIn. You can also visit my website, that is alb2bmarketing.com. But if you connect with me on LinkedIn, you will see uh, the website, the URL, and I'm happy to connect with people in different parts of the world.
Absolutely. Okay, what is the main takeaway you want to leave with the audience today?
I think that what we talk in our conversation is to approach when you are expanding internationally, you have to approach with an open mind, with a great sensibility, and to understand that not all markets work the same way, and you need to respect their cultures, their habits, their tastes, their preferences, and in that way you are going to be successful in whatever you launch there.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure hosting you
Yes,
here. I learned a lot about global marketing, about being local and global strategies. So thank you very much for showing up, for being part of the show. And let's definitely stay in touch.
yeah, thanks Camila for having me.